On the cutting edge, man. You were the guy. You were the outsider of new media.
Yeah. Well, I'm just taking a break. I'm starting it up again the new year. I'm not going to do it in my living room anymore.
Why?
I don't know. I was just because it was all these cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a lot of cables, a lot of cameras, a lot of computers breaking down all the time.
A lot of guys going like, I got it. I'm on it.
It never worked. It wasn't a very simple technical setup. And in 2000 when I start the thing, I don't know, 2007 or something like that. The web streaming technology was pretty new, so it didn't really work that well.
Right.
And then it started to work better, but I'd always have to buy all this new equipment stuff. I just kind of wanted to take a break from it.
But you always had there's always been a Tom Green fan base that was ready to fucking follow you anywhere into any pit of hell that you decided to travel to. Yeah,
no, it was cool. I mean, we had a lot of people watching, and actually, really, what it is, I started touring and doing stand-up, and I just kind of am addicted to it now. As you know, it's something that you just can't sort of stop doing. I've been.
Yeah, for better or for worse. I mean, when it's all you do, there's
yeah.
It's like I can't stop doing this because I don't know what else I'm going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But you sort of came back around to it.
Yeah.
I mean, were you ever a legitimate stand-up?
It's hard to say. I mean, I started doing it when I was quite young.
Like how old?
15, 16, 17, 18 years old, like way back.
When you were in high school?
Yeah.
In Canada?
And at Ottawa's Yuck Yucks.
Yeah, I know, for Mark Breslin.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I love doing it. And
but were you like one of these, like, that kid's here again? The wonder kind? Because, like, as a stand-up, when kids would come in who had it, who started doing it, everyone's sort of impressed the fact that he's a kid.
They called me Little Tommy Green from down the street at the club. Started out, I'd go down to watch Harland Williams and Norm Macdonald and Jeremy Hotz when they'd come through town.
I do. I do very few impressions, but Harland Williams, you can do his style, but just taking two or three sort of disjointed references and then doing crowd work. Like, hey there, Mr. Beard, how's the spaceship doing with the jelly?
Yeah, Harland is one of my best friends. And
isn't that his style?
Yeah, well, yeah. He's at the time when I was a kid, I'd never seen anybody be so non sequitur and ridiculous.
Where are we getting muffins?
Yeah, exactly. It was just outrageous stuff, and he was so silly, and I loved it. And I sort of looked at that and I said, "Wow, I kind of could see myself.
I could do that.
Try to do that." So,
well, what were you doing when you were like 15? I mean, what was your structure?
Yeah, I was talking about like Saturday morning cartoons.
Were you?
No, I don't know, like weird TV commercials.
Sure. Have you guys seen this one?
Yeah, stupid stuff like that. I can't really remember a lot of my material. I had some jokes about like kids being, when you see kids. I'm trying to remember a joke from 20 years ago now. I can't really remember them or do them justice.
All you got to do is drop the needle in the groove, Tom. The groove is still in there somewhere. That opener is still in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. There was no point of reference though to really entertain a group of drunken college students, when you're 15, 16, 17 years old. So it was kind of I did well, but it was that cute kid on stage. What's he doing? That's cute. He's a kid.
They were willing to offer you a pass in a way.
Yeah.
They weren't going to give him a break. He's 15.
It kind of started to feel a bit like that, so I stopped for some time. I went to school, took broadcasting, and started the show and did that for a long time.
What, the public access show?
Yeah, I started the public access show.
Well, now, you grew up in Canada?
Yeah.
What part?
Ottawa, Canada, yeah.
And I have no point of reference for that as an American, really. I've been to Canada. What's
an hour and a half from Montreal, which I'm sure you know Montreal.
Sure, Montreal, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Toronto. I've been to all those. Edmonton I've been to.
Yeah. Ottawa's the capital. It's
right
between Toronto and Montreal, sort of. It's about
normal childhood. You got sisters and brothers that you like?
Jeez, do you mind if I smoke?
No, go ahead. Okay. There's an ashtray right there. Oh, you got one of those.
It's electric.
Yeah?
Just got it.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, I do actually. And I don't even smoke real cigarettes.
Never smoked real cigarettes?
I found myself starting to smoke cigarettes.
So you got one of them?
And it's been worrying me.
Yeah?
But because I get stressed out a lot in my life.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. Someone sent me a couple of these ones. They're disposable electric cigarettes where you just smoke them out. You don't have to replace the cartridge. They go for a couple weeks, and then is that what that is?
This is a rechargeable one.
Oh, so you've got the whole packet.
I had a disposable one, but then I picked this up. I've got menthol flavored canisters as well.
I used to smoke. I eat nicotine lozenges.
Oh yeah,
and I have been for like 10 years.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I've tried those.
Yeah.
But it takes me back to I've gotten past the mouth hand.
Yeah.
Thing. So I just assume not enter that back in.
Yeah.
I don't think about cigarettes anymore.
It's amazing how much it works.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really does work. Like
Yeah.
you get a good little buzz off.
Yeah,
of
I
it.
got nauseous the first time I did it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to take my jacket off. I just need to.
Tom's taking his jacket off.
Settle
Tom Green is here.
Got a knife here, which is good.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I leave there to so people can fidget with if necessary. But I should have probably put the knife away. I did one show with you once, and I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. I was kind of mad at you actually.
What happened? When? When was that?
It was it was Byron Allen's ridiculous show.
Oh wow!
And I said, who's on with me? And they're like, Tom Green, whoever.
Holy cow!
And I'm like, oh fuck, Tom Green's on, so no one's gonna be able to say anything because he's gonna do something. And
I forgot about that.
within 5 minutes, I think you were in a fish tank.
Wow! Yeah, I've thought about that many times since, and
Seriously?
because I've gotten to this sort of place in my life where I sometimes look back at that period of time where I just sort of really wonder what the heck was I thinking a lot of the time,
But wasn't that part of the thing?
Yeah, it was part of the thing, but it was sort of like I was in a very sort of developmental phase of what exactly the thing was, right? So and there was a lot of things happening in my life, and all of a sudden I'm on these shows, and it was very overwhelming, and then you're on Byron Allen with a bunch of other great comedians.
In
and
a warehouse. It was like a warehouse.
Here I'm supposed to tell some jokes, and I haven't got jokes, so I'll just get in the fish tank. I'll go run up into the audience.
Right,
George Wallace is sitting there looking at me
That's
like, who the
it was.
hell is this kid
It was George
running
Wallace.
around in the fish tank? Tell some jokes, jerk.
I think it was me, you, George Wallace, and Orny Adams.
Yeah.
I think that's what it
And I think
was.
John Lovitz was there too, right?
Was he? I think he was backstage.
Okay, yeah.
Waiting to do the second taping.
I remember after that, I walked backstage, and they were doing all these tapings, and there was all these other comedians there, and I remember some people looking at me like they were kind of mad at me or something. Like yeah. And I started getting.
I was mad at you.
Yeah. You were the one. Really looked. Yeah. So I don't know. It was an interesting thing. I don't really do that anymore. Go on. I had this thing like when I was a kid doing my public access show, and
How old were you when you started that?
I was 24 when I started public access TV. I was doing my radio. I did college radio. Started that when I was about 18.
And what was that show?
It was the radio show.
Yeah.
It was I called it the Midnight Caller. I did it every Friday night from midnight till 2 a.m. and we took phone calls and
Real phone calls.
Real phone calls,
Uh-huh.
and I did prank calls and stuff like
Sure.
that.
And then you went to public access?
Yeah.
And what was the idea of that show? Just to turn a talk show inside out?
Pretty much, yeah. I loved Letterman.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get access to video cameras and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I went to school, took broadcasting. A couple of my buddies and I went and started the show.
Yeah.
We wanted to do basically, a crazy version of Letterman, basically.
Right.
And so going out in the streets. I like going out in the streets.
But
and doing
pushing it.
Yeah.
Beyond, and that's what made you famous.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sort of was a slower build. And like what happened was I did the show for about 7 years on public access in Canada, living in my parents' basement, and then MTV picked it up, and that was really sort of the explosive moment for the show,
So you lived in your parents' basement till you were 30?
No, I was in and out of there.
Yeah.
Till I was about I moved to New York with the show when I was 28.
Yeah.
I had moved out a couple of years before.
Uh-huh.
I moved out when I was 19, moved back in again when I was 24 for a few years, so I could just...
And were you welcomed back with open arms, or were they like, ugh?
They wanted me to get a job. I wanted to do the public access show. They were happy that I was focusing on something, so they let me live in the basement, right?
Were you a problem?
Well, yeah, because I was barging into the house with the cameras all the time, sort of, really overstaying my welcome.
But as a younger kid, were you a concern?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Why?
I think I'm still a concern. You know,
what were the red flags, Tom? When
I think they were just really, really concerned that I was never going to be able to support myself, and that they were going to have to support me for the rest of their lives, and they were more concerned about themselves, I think. No,
yeah, exactly.
No, they were worried about me, you know, because I was always a goofy kid, and you know, whatever, goofing off and stuff. And
do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger brother, yeah.
And is he a goofball? Or is he on the level?
No, he's not so much a goofball. Yeah, he's different kind of guy.
He's working. They're not concerned about him anymore.
Yeah, no, not really, no. Yeah.
So the public access went on for 7 years, and you didn't have any real plans for it. You just liked doing it. There was no money coming in. Did you build up a following in Canada?
I wanted to turn it into something.
Yeah,
I mean, I did. And we would edit promo tapes together and send them off to the CBC and to the local television stations. And, you know, with a little letter asking if they'd give us a pilot, and eventually someone did give us a pilot.
In Canada?
Yeah, in Canada.
Though, if you hang out and you're persistent enough, it seems that everyone gets an opportunity in television.
Yeah, you just don't quit. That's what I always figured. Just don't quit. Something's going to happen.
And you got the pilot?
Got the pilot for the CBC.
Yeah.
They waited a year to not pick it up. That was in 1997. And then it got picked up by the Comedy Network in Canada, which was the first year of that network.
Right. And
they gave us 13 episodes,
and that was it.
And then we went to MTV. Yeah, actually, we did 26 episodes there.
Do you consider yourself sort of the like, you must be sort of the godfather of what became modern punking? You know, that there was some element that you took it to this degree that no one thought you could really do, like all the Letterman pranks or whatever, that you were imposing on real people. You were fucking throwing yourself into things. Like, it was sort of punk rock, and I have to assume that you were before Jackass and before Punk'd and before all that shit. I think you set some sort of standard. Do you ever think of it that way?
You know, I was into skateboarding videos and Letterman, and I wanted to and I had done stand-up, and so I loved really outrageous movies and TV shows like Monty Python and things like that. You know, I think I figured there's no way I'd ever really be able to get a TV show through traditional methods.
Right.
You know, so I had to do something that was just so off the deep end that somebody would have to look at it, and then maybe we'd find a little niche thing or something. So
when you went to MTV, you became sort of like a rock star, kind of like a fucking balls-to-the-wall punk rock comedy rock star, and you had all these kids who were like, fucking Tom Green.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy time.
And then, like, you just, it sort of skyrocketed, and I don't talk to many people who have gone as far up and as dramatically down as you, in the sense that you had a real arc.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like, you were culturally visible a lot, with MTV, and then you did a few movies, and then you ended up with Drew Barrymore, and everyone was like, oh, fuck that guy. Yeah. He's got it made.
Yeah, it was definitely an odd sort of shift in attitude when the tabloid stuff started. Right?
Yeah.
Because before the tabloid stuff started, everybody basically just loved the show.
Right.
And then immediately people sort of turn on you because, you're with a movie star or whatever, and they think you're...
You turned in your punk rock cred.
Yeah, I guess so. I never really considered myself much of a punk rock kind of... I mean, I liked hip-hop music.
I mean, just in terms of the attitude.
Yeah, I guess we had that. I guess we did. But
Anarchy.
I was
Fuck
always
you.
too much of a nerd, though, to consider myself really punk,
Yeah.
But
what were you a childhood nerd?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
What was your thing?
I was just a goofy kid at school, and
but like chess, science, Dungeons and Dragons.
Not science, no, not chess, but I was into skateboarding and stuff. But back then, skateboarding wasn't cool, right?
Did you do pools?
No, just street skating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nothing.
All the pools in Canada are vinyl. They're lined with vinyl because if they freeze. They freeze in the winter, so they can't.
A little more challenging.
They can't make concrete pools, so they're soft. Yeah, they're plastic. But it certainly was interesting and has been interesting, and I actually kind of feel a little bit better and more in my comfort zone now than I did when things were like flying high on MTV, because you don't have everybody critiquing every little thing you do. When I did my web show the last few years, we were having lots of people watching it and stuff, but you're not getting sort of ripped a new asshole by People magazine.
And you're sort of a maverick, you can have complete control of your own shit.
Yeah.
And you've built a pretty good army of people, I imagine, that liked you.
Yeah.
So they were all there. Because I remember checking in with it occasionally.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how's he doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it working?
Yeah.
But you found that did you find that you could build an audience and keep people watching?
Yeah, we had a lot of people watching, and it's kind of what led me to want to start touring, because I was getting a lot of viewers from all over the country and places like Australia and everywhere I went touring, and I just thought maybe I should just go take it on the road. You know, it was the only thing I was doing was the web show,
right?
And I wanted to get up in front of people.
When you did music, were you serious about it?
Yeah, well, that's sort of when I was a kid. We had this record deal in Canada.
Yeah,
and I did this rap album.
Yeah,
and we got a record deal, and that was sort of after that's kind of why I stopped doing stand-up. We got a record deal
at what, 18 or 19?
When I was 18 years old, I had my first away gig was booked with Yuck Yucks. They booked me at a club in Montreal. I think they were some of the club that I don't think it's there anymore. But and I was all set to go, and then we got this opportunity to go to New York with my buddies who were like 17, we're all 17, 18 years old, and record for the summer. So I canceled my first away gig and went to New York for 6 weeks to record a demo, and came back from that and was so ashamed that I had canceled that away gig that I didn't really go back to the club for about 5 years because I was just completely embarrassed and ashamed.
Really?
Yeah, ashamed and that I canceled
your first
my
gig.
First big gig. You know, I've been doing sort of middle spots in Ottawa when but I hadn't really gotten into the touring yet. And that was always sort of the dream, really, for me as a kid, was to be a road warrior, a comic, and going out there and doing what Harland and Norm were doing.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, what was the rap song? I mean, were you serious? Like, did you and like two friends had a whole rap entourage there, and you were doing?
We were kind of trying to do the Beastie Boys, our version of the Beastie Boys.
So kind of funny, goofy
Canadian suburban Beastie Boys. Yeah.
Did you get any traction with that? Did you release some singles?
Yeah, we had a hit record in Canada.
Really?
So, yeah, I was played on all the radio stations.
Did you cash in a little bit?
No, we made no money. We did a pizza commercial for a local pizza chain and got $1,200 that we split 3 ways. And we thought that was a lot of money too.
Free pizza?
Yeah, a couple free pizzas. Yeah, but we were really into it. We were excited about it. But it sort of fizzled out after an album.
Yeah,
it was weird though, because at 18 years old in Canada, 10 years before the show was on MTV, we had this song went to #1 in certain cities. We won the award on Much Music, which is like MTV
for
awards.
Best New.
For
band?
Best Rap Video,
oh, okay.
1992.
So you did what? How many? You did 1 year run. You did how many of the MTV shows? In your arc there. How long were you on the air over there?
On MTV, probably 26 episodes. Yeah.
And then when did you get the testicular cancer?
Right when the show was basically the #1 show on MTV, I got testicular cancer. I think we were the #2 show on MTV after The Real World. We were like a hit show.
How old were you?
I was 28. Yeah.
And how did you figure that out?
I had a sort of a numbness, swollen feeling in my right testicle.
Yeah.
Went to the doctor. Doctor misdiagnosed it as epididymitis.
Yeah, when it gets tangled up.
Yeah, put me on antibiotics. Went to my hometown with Monica Lewinsky and shot an hour-long episode with Monica Lewinsky in my hometown with in pain, and shot a couple other episodes. Kept going back to the doctor, going, "This isn't going away."
Yeah.
And then he did an ultrasound, told me it was cancer then, and then I switched doctors immediately.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately began researching, testicular cancer. Found out the best doctor in the world basically was in Los Angeles here at USC.
Yeah.
And went over there and was fortunate enough to get in there. Dr. Drew actually set me up over there because we had the same manager at the time.
Yeah, wasn't that interesting?
And,
show business meets medicine.
Yeah, Howard Lapidus, who you probably know.
Yeah, the manager guy.
Yeah,
I remember him.
Yeah.
But like testicular cancer is like that's bad. I mean, if that goes, it can like get your whole body pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, it's not a fun thing to deal with. It takes a lot out of you physically. Like not the getting the testicle removed is pretty simple.
And you put that all on camera, the whole process of this.
Yeah, and I've been putting a lot of stuff up on my website recently, and Most of the stuff I put up on my website is from the old public access show, but I did put the cancer special on there, and we filmed and documented the whole scary procedure process. My parents down there in the hospital, everything. Filmed the surgery. The crazy part of the surgery for me was a lymph node dissection where they cut you from, basically they gut you like a fish, right? Mm-hmm. They take your intestines out and set them on the table. Oh. It's this 8-hour surgery.
This is on camera?
Yeah.
You showed this shit?
Yeah. You can see it all sort of like, it looks like one of these,
So you're out and you've signed a release for them to be able to do that?
Well, actually, what we did, no, I wasn't quite that crazy. We filmed everything leading up to the surgery, everything immediately after the surgery, but the hospital actually has a camera mounted over the operating table. So we just got those tapes and used the close-up of my intestines getting taken out.
And everyone's seen this on MTV?
Yeah.
I gotta watch it now. I think I can handle it. I don't know.
It's a really crazy show. It's actually was a very positive show, and it's gotten a lot of great feedback from people who've had cancer, and a lot of people actually diagnosed their cancer because of the show. And I get people come up to me all the time now, everywhere I go, and say, I went and saw that show, I went to the doctor, and I've sort of, it's weird having been so public about it, because on one hand it feels good because, everywhere I go when I'm on tour, there's always inevitably one kid every weekend will come up to me and go, hey man, I have testicular cancer, I had it, and we talk about it, and it's sort of an emotional thing.
Wow.
But then the other hand, every time I go anywhere, someone else will probably yell out of a cab or say, hey, how's your nut, Tom? How's your ball doing, buddy? Which happens so frequently that you wouldn't even believe. And people think they're being funny. They think I'm going to be like, yeah, thanks a lot for bringing it. That's funny, because I made a joke about it myself.
Right.
But I don't think people always realize that, part of the reason I think we make jokes sometimes about things that are scary is because we're sort of using it as a self-defense mechanism, a self-cathartic mechanism.
Sure, well, not to fall into a pit of darkness and fear. Worsen everything. I mean, I can't imagine that the diagnosis, that moment where you hear cancer, it's got to be like, fuck.
Yeah, it's scary and crazy and sort of surreal, and it changes you forever. Sort of realize that, we could potentially be dead at any moment. So, and on one hand, you're like, oh, okay, this is great. Let's live life for the moment. Let's be positive.
Right.
Let's enjoy every moment because life is short. And on the other hand, you're sort of grateful. You're grateful, but then you're also in a panic now.
Yeah,
I'm in a panic now. That's why I'm smoking these electric cigarettes. You feel that sort of, very real possibility that something could go wrong with your body, which you don't normally think about when you're 28.
It's going to.
It's definitely going to happen. But I always assumed it would be, okay, I'll live to be 80, with my grandparents.
Right.
I got a long time to, screw around till then, but...
No. Do you have to go get screened every year, or what do you do?
Not anymore, because it's been about 12 years, so I'm completely free, cancer-free, and there's no issue or no chance of it returning, basically.
And they put like a prosthetic ball in there?
That's elective, and I chose not to.
So you're just bald.
I'm not. Yeah,
that's all right.
They go in through the. They go in from above.
Yeah.
They don't like hack apart your scrotum or anything like that.
Right.
I don't have like a stitched up scrotum.
Disfigured.
Yeah, they don't
scrotum.
cut that part. Yeah. The sac is completely intact. Right? Yeah. They go in from above. They kind of reach in, and this is what I say. They shuck it out like an oyster. Is what they do. But so it's really kind of somewhat.
Did you look at the prosthetic balls though? Did they bring them in and say like?
I did. I looked
at
them. I looked at them. My doctor said, you know what? Some people elect to do this, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's important. I'm glad I didn't do it. I've talked to a lot of young people now who've gotten them and who don't like it.
Why? Because it just feels
weird? They just find themselves like rubbing it all the time. I can't imagine having a piece of plastic in there, because you'd be squeezing it all the time, but then you'd be probably squeezing like the scrotal skin would be probably getting all bruised.
Just squeezing
up.
It because you can?
Yeah, right? Be like pumping away on it. Like,
look what I can do. Don't feel nothing.
Yeah. So I don't. I'm glad I didn't get it.
And after that special, how did the MTV thing end? Did they decide that you had? That was the end of it, or
no? Were
they happy with that show?
They were happy with the show. The show didn't get canceled. The show was one of their most successful shows at the time. I, had been doing the show for 10 years, including
the public access,
all the public access stuff. And I just had some other opportunities to go make a couple films.
Yeah.
And I decided, I was physically drained from this thing, and I just said, I think I'm gonna go another direction. And I went and made, Road Trip and Freddie Got Fingered.
Is that when you met Drew?
I met her when she contacted me because she wanted me to be in Charlie's Angels.
Right.
So
that was after the ball cancer.
That was. It's funny. I rarely talk about this element of my life because it's like one of those things where it's like, first of all, it's a weird. But I want to talk about it with you because I think this is a fun, a good forum for this.
Yeah.
Where I can just sort of talk about it.
Yeah.
It was right when I got cancer was exactly the exact same time that we started dating.
Right.
And so I was doing the movie Charlie's Angels. We started dating. I had a swollen ball. I was, kind of living in a new country. I was new life. Things were surreal at the time,
Everything was good except for the ball.
Except for the ball.
Yeah. The ball was a problem.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And so you just started dating her, and it was great?
It was for we lived together for about 2 years, and dated for 2.5 years, and it was great for a good chunk of that, but then it wasn't great, and then we broke up.
But she was with you throughout the cancer and stuck with you through that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
she seems like a pretty nice person.
Yeah,
in general,
nice enough to marry for 5 months at least.
I've been married twice, man.
Yeah.
They were both 3.5 years. So I mean, I
think the thing is you got to imagine what would it be like for you.
Yeah.
What's your first wife's name?
Kim.
Kim.
Yeah.
What would it be like for you if every time you left up your house, every day for the rest of your life, between 5 and 10 people between the time you left your house and got back home, came up to you and said, "Hey, how's Kim? You talked to Kim lately?" "Oh, yeah, I remember you were with Kim." "Oh, weren't you married to that Kim?" Welcome to my life. It's still.
So I'm guilty of it.
A constant theme. Yeah, and that's expected because I'm here and we're talking about my life and stuff, and I understand that. But when you're,
I think everyone's
pumping gas, or eating a sandwich at Subway or something, and someone come, it's and the people like to loudly talk about it in front, "Hey man, you're with that
Drew
Barrymore, huh?"
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of fascinated about how things fucking go shitty.
Yeah.
And like I don't always know. Like I know what happened in my first marriage. The second marriage sort of got away from me.
Yeah.
Now I'm with somebody now. So like it's just a different perspective. And everybody, I think with celebrities and someone like her who everyone's had some sort of relationship with in this country since she was like 9.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's sort of like, well, what the fuck happened? Whose fault was it? And
and it's the oddest thing because, as somebody that has always put my personal life out there with my parents on the show and making fun of myself and doing all the things I've done, I've always, the tendency is to want to just rant about it, right?
Sure.
But it's just so not really a viable option to go around ranting about why it went wrong. First of all, I'm sure she has a completely different opinion about why it went wrong.
You're different
than I
people
do.
now, too. Yeah.
And so, we don't really have any sort of relationship anymore. I haven't talked to her in probably 7 or 8 years.
Is that wild? When you don't have kids?
We were living together. We're married. She when she left the house that day when we decided to get a divorce.
Yeah.
I have never seen her since. That was over 10 years ago.
Is that wild?
But still, her name gets brought up every day. So it's an odd thing. And you want to go, "Oh, this is what went wrong, and this has happened, and she did this, and she did that, blah, blah, blah." And then you just sound like some jerk walking around.
That's the choice, isn't it?
Complaining about, America's sweetheart. And so it's just kind of like, what, I just choose to say nothing. Until now, where I've gone off on a rant with an electric cigarette. But
it wasn't really a rant. The weird thing about, because I noticed this about my second wife as well, is that as angry as I was, there's things that, that happened there and personal things about her that like as much as I fucking hated her for the time I did, I will not share that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with me. It's actually out of respect for them.
Yeah.
That even when your heart is broken, there's some sort of weird like, well, that's really low, and I'm not gonna bring that up. I mean, fuck her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Exactly. And I've kind of I don't know if I want to say that I've matured, but I want to try to just move forward and be positive and not necessarily dwell on things that have happened in the past. And
did the cancer do that to you too? I mean, was there after you sort of came through that tunnel where you're like, I've got to fucking, not be dragged into the darkness at bullshit?
Yeah, it did. It did. I mean, the thing that happened with the cancer, which I think is something that I'm really only kind of figuring out now, and I'm still kind of coming to grips with it, is that it was just a physically very demanding thing. It took a major toll on my body, on my physical energy level.
Yeah.
And so I went from being this sort of really hyper person to being sort of more of a calm. I have a bit of a lack of energy. I remember the first time I went snowboarding again after I got sick, and I used to be really into snowboarding and skateboarding, and we'd go snowboard all day. And I went snowboarding. I couldn't even get to the bottom of the hill without having to sit down, take a breath.
Yeah.
And it took quite a while for me to kind of realize that I was kind of going through some stuff that wasn't really anything about beating the cancer. It was just I have to kind of find a way to kind of get my body healthy again. So I've, in the last couple of, really only in the last year or so, I've really kind of figured I have to get out there and do exercise,
right,
and not, look after my health a bit more. So.
Well, that's good, man. Yeah. I mean, it's weird when you get to, I mean, you're younger than me by like 8 years. You're, what are you, 41, 42, something like that?
41, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you start to realize like, wow, I'm halfway done.
Yeah, yeah.
It's sort of, how do I maintain this?
Yeah.
But when did you get to do the Letterman show? When was that guest hosting gig?
That was later. That was pretty cool. That was like about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe.
And what was the setup for that? I mean, was that something you aspired to? Did you feel like you were in the running, that there was that you could do a traditional show?
I always have loved interviewing people.
Yeah.
And that's why I really wanted to come on your show.
I
really love your show, and I think I love listening to your show.
Well, thanks, man.
And this has been.
Am I doing a good job?
Awesome and pleasant so far, You're making me feel good and comfortable, which I think is important, because I think a lot of people don't do that.
That wasn't really your angle, was it, originally?
Not originally, but then when I did my web show, I figured that out.
Yeah.
And I like to interview comedians. I like to let people be funny and set them up for a laugh and all that stuff.
That is a new you, Tom.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You're going to surrender the stage a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to start doing stand-up, because after doing the web show for 5 years, I kind of started getting a little antsy of being the straight man. I wanted to go out and go wild and be wacky again, and that's my stand-up is a lot more physical and loud and energetic, and I'm being provocative and talking more.
So you're getting that out now, in that venue.
Yeah, and not just asking questions and setting people up for the laughs and stuff, which I love doing too. But so the Letterman, they called me out of nowhere is what happened. I wasn't lobbying. I was actually. Was
the contractual time where he was balking, or was that the open heart surgery time? This
was an odd one-off time where he just. I'm not sure why he wasn't doing the show that day.
Right.
He wasn't sick, because it was done on the Friday, the day they do the 2 shows.
Yeah.
And he had done the 1 show, and then I came in and did the 2nd show.
That's bizarre.
But they called me the day before.
Yeah.
And said, can you be in New York tomorrow? I was in L.A. And they said, can you be in New York tomorrow? It was actually my Howard Lapidus called and said, hey, are you sitting down?
Yeah.
Why? I said, oh, you're hosting Letterman tomorrow. What? And I just sort of. It was a whirlwind from there, and they, I had to write my monologue. I didn't, they said you got to write your monologue, so I just started coming up with jokes.
Yeah.
Some friends of mine who are comedy writers to help.
Who are those guys?
My friend Gabe Abelson.
I know Gabe. Yeah, well, he writes for Letterman.
Yeah, he had written for Letterman for years, and he was writing on my show, and we immediately started thinking of some stuff. And, And it was probably the most surreal 24 hours of my life because,
it's a dream.
Went straight. It was like a dream. It was definitely even more bizarre than being a guest on the show for the first time.
Yeah.
They play the music.
Well, you got to sit in the driver's seat.
Paul Schaefer was there playing the theme song. They announced your name in the Ed Sullivan Theater.
Yeah.
I'm walking out, and it was just very, very odd. And me, I get very nervous always before I go on stage or do anything. So this was compounded by about 100%. So 100
And how'd
times.
you do?
I think it went good. I had a good time. Dave actually, I didn't talk to him there at backstage. I got to talk to Paul a bit backstage, but he wrote me a nice letter and said, thought I did a great job. Thank you. You did a great job. It was a little typed up letter, and it was really, really cool thing to have.
Who were the guests?
The guests were Scott Stevens from the New Jersey Devils, a hockey player, and Jolene Blaylock from Star Trek Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine, one of those shows.
Uh-huh.
The hockey guest was good because the New Jersey Devils had just beaten the Ottawa Senators in the playoffs, and that's my team. That's my hometown.
Fire there.
So I had a bit. We came up with a bit to do, which was pretty fun. I wanted to move around this show a bit, so I pulled out a hockey jersey, and I set it up with Scott Stevens before, but I pulled out a hockey jersey from the Ottawa Senators. I pulled out a Devils jersey, gave it to him. He's known to be a enforcer, one of the physical, violent players. You know? He'll take you down. And I said, I'm from Ottawa, and I'm a little upset about this, and I'm Canadian. I want to show you how Canadians play hockey. And I pull out a stick, and I hand him a stick, and I walk over to the center of the performance area and throw the puck on the ground, and I start stick handling around it, and then he, the bit is then he basically body checks me and slams me all the way across the room and into Paul's organ. So, so it was cool.
Did you play hockey?
I did. I grew up playing hockey, So it was, you have to play hockey in Canada. That's the thing about every kid pretty much plays hockey. I started playing ice hockey when I was 4 years old, and you can't, and you're playing on, it doesn't really work when you're 4 years old, but they strap the skates on you anyway.
Your
you're just
ankles
waddling
out.
around the ice. A kid gets the puck, shoots it, it goes to the other end, and then they all waddle back the other way like a bunch of penguins chasing this thing around. But hockey's weird because then you get good at it when you're around 10 years old. You start to get good at it. They train you to skate. They train you to stick handle, and you gotta get good at shooting, and you learn all these skills.
Who's the they? There's a national organization.
Your dad, your teachers, your coaches.
It's all about hockey.
It's all about hockey. If you wanted to go to the outdoor rink at the end of everybody has an outdoor rink in their neighborhood,
right?
And if you want to go and stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning, they leave the lights on. On a school night, as long as you're practicing hockey, you can stay up. So
we might need that kid.
Yeah, your dad. Every kid's father secretly hopes you're going to be the next Daryl Sittler.
Yeah.
They would freeze. Or my dad would freeze the backyard. And
really?
Just
so you could skate around. Yeah,
you flatten all the snow down in the backyard, then you spray water on it, and then it turns into a rink, and you spray water on it every day, so you can go out in the backyard and take slap shots against the fence, right? You'd say Daryl Sittler would stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning practicing his slap shot. You can stay out there and so basically you can go to bed, or you can go out and stand in minus 40 degrees and shoot a rubber puck against a.
So what did you do? Did you?
I was into it, but then when you get to be about 13 or 14 years old, you sort of don't want to do it as much anymore, but you're caught up in the sort of the peer pressure of it all. And then when you're 15, the whole game changes, and it becomes about physical contact. Before that, physical contact is not part of the game. It's about stick handling and shooting. You're
building
not allowed
your skills.
No body checking allowed.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you hit puberty, and it's the biggest kid is basically slams you into the boards. I got my arm busted the first year of physical contact and never played again. So
was that in a school game or just in a community league?
In a community league, yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I was never a sports kid. So, were you a wrestling fan?
Not really. No. I always. No, I never really got caught up in wrestling. I got into skateboarding, and
I'm just thinking about the way you perform. And was Kaufman an impression on you, the Andy Kaufman shit?
Oh well,
Kaufman.
I really kind of discovered him later.
Yeah.
So I think I might have been just a little bit too young when he was hitting his peak there.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know about him until after my show went on MTV, actually, and then people start
comparing you.
Well, there were little things we did, like I drove the audience home once on my show in Canada, and then everyone said, "Oh, Andy Kaufman did that." I said, "Oh, really? Oh," and then and then the Man on the Moon movie came out, and I got cancer at the same time as that movie was coming out, and it was all very strange. So I became a huge fan of his after the fact. And
did you think it was beyond coincidence that this is like Kaufman is mystically taking revenge on you from the grave with the movie?
You know, the thought crossed my mind. I did think about, you do think about things like that when you get sick. You think about, like I had a very strong connection with Andy Kaufman at that point, because you're very emotional, you're scared, and then this movie's out, and I would go watch that movie, and you're weeping in the movie, watching this. Yeah.
Yeah. But in that moment, though, I mean, were you brought up with the God thing? I mean, like when you're facing cancer, I mean, did you have anywhere to go with the fear, or were you more practical about it?
I actually remember. Not remember. I remember sitting in the shower in my house that I was renting from William Shatner, who was my landlord.
Still?
No, but at the time, I'd been living in L.A. for a year. I'm dating Drew Barrymore.
Shatner was your actual...
William Shatner's my landlord.
A hands-on landlord, not a management company? Like you had?
No, he was a hands-on landlord. He'd come pick up the check. Captain Kirk would come pick up the check occasionally. Yeah. He was a nice guy. He was a really cool guy.
And a Canadian.
Super cool, super nice.
He's Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you got the house? Because, I mean, did you know you were renting from William Shatner? How do you get William Shatner's house?
It just got lucky, man. He had a house, one of his properties that he owns, and it was for rent. And I went there, and while they're showing their house, they're like, by the way, your landlord's William Shatner. And I'm like, really? Well,
I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very surreal. There was so much surreal stuff happening. And I remember, but I was sitting down in the shower, just kind of scared.
Yeah.
Really, assuming death was imminent.
Right.
I mean, I figured if I'm so unlucky that I'm going to get testicular cancer now while all this great stuff is happening, then I'm going to be, one of the ones that dies from it too.
Right.
And literally just panic-stricken. And I remember praying to God.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Like he was listening to me, and he was actually, going to possibly do something about it. And you're at that point where, I went to church, Sunday school when I was a kid till I was about 6 or 7. And
Catholic?
Then Protestant.
Uh-huh.
And then we stopped, and we weren't really super religious, but weren't religious.
Yeah.
But, went to, there was a certain amount when you're a kid where they want you to learn about it from a historic perspective.
Right.
But then all of a sudden it just goes like, okay, well, if there is a chance that this is
real,
I'm not gonna take any chances here. I'm gonna pray to this God right now.
Getting his good graces now.
Yeah. And I did that quite a bit. Yeah. And I'm alive, so
who knows?
Yeah. I've thought about that quite a bit. I'm not somebody that goes around and says I don't believe in God. I'm not somebody that sort of reads the Bible every day either, but I know there's enough things that have surprised me in my life, enough things that have happened where I'm just like, oh wow, that the world is completely different than I had perceived it at one point not that long ago. So, and there are so many things that are unknown that I can't really sort of sit around and say, oh, there's no God. I don't do that.
You just keep quiet and
pretty much
don't engage with that shit.
Pretty much just don't talk about it that much. Yeah.
So I'm trying to who are your pals? You still got showbiz pals?
Yeah, I guess so. I met a lot of people doing my web show. I mean, it's a great way to
Wasn't
make friends.
Andy Dick on there a lot?
Andy Dick came on a lot.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Andrew Dice Clay. I've become good friends with.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Seth Green? Was Seth Green one of your guys?
No, he didn't do the show. But I've met him a few times, so he's not somebody I hang with. But I actually hang out with Dice, and I I've got a lot of friends that are not in show business too.
Yeah. Dice is an interesting guy.
Harland Williams is one of my good buddies.
He's a good guy. I was in Ireland with Harland.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a trooper.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve-O, hang with Steve-O a little bit from Jackass.
That makes sense.
We're doing some shows together in Vegas, a double bill in Vegas.
Oh, really?
We're doing three weekends over the course of 3 months in the new year. So January, February, March, we're doing.
He's a sober guy now.
Yeah. It's cool. We go. He's a good influence on me.
Why, you a boozer?
I have been known to have a drink. Yeah. And it's one of these things I'm trying to cut back on.
Yeah.
Had too many of these sort of situations in the last few years where I wake up the next day and I say, you know what, that was just, I was out of control there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've always, being Canadian, you grow up.
What would be an example of Tom Green being out of control? I mean, how do you judge that?
Well,
when you're not in control of your out of controlness?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That one got away from me.
Yeah. Exactly. The show was always, I never drank when I did the show.
Right.
I don't drink when I do stand up. I don't drink on stage. I don't drink before I go on stage, but I drink after I get off the stage.
Sure.
And because all the stuff I did on the show was like you said, it was controlled out of controlness. Really,
right,
we were trying to make it look out of control, and but it really was pretty structured and thought through, believe it or not. But well, I've talked about this before, but
it's all right.
When I went and did The Apprentice with Donald Trump, the Celebrity Apprentice, Donald Trump, Celebrity Apprentice, I got fired on the third episode because I went out boozing with Dennis Rodman the night I was the project manager. Right. And it just turned into such a wild night, Rodman and I out at strip clubs and just going nuts. And I was the project manager, okay? I had to sell wedding dresses the next day. I was competing against Joan Rivers for the ladies' team. I should have taken it more seriously.
Obviously.
But I'd been on this show for 3 weeks, and everybody on the guys' team had sort of created an alliance against me, Andrew Dice Clay, and Dennis Rodman. So I had Clint Black, Brian McKnight, Jesse James, Herschel Walker, and Scott Hamilton all kind of teaming up against us. And they were being, everyone was really being quite, really bunch of jerks, basically, to each other. Everyone was just being real jerks to each other. And I'd gone on the show because I liked the show. I thought it was a hilarious show. And I like watching Trump, and I think it's funny, and I thought I could win the thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're in this fake world, in a fake boardroom, and you got Scott Hamilton screaming at you because he thinks it's real, right?
Right.
And he's screaming at you because, you didn't put enough sugar in the cupcake batter in some challenge you're doing. You've been there for 16 hours, asked to make cupcakes. And, everyone's mad at each other because you're not following the instructions properly. And this is like a Olympic gold medalist, and Herschel Walker wanted to kick my ass, literally physically was intimidating me. He came at me at one point. And after 3 weeks of that, because it takes about a week to shoot each episode, I just didn't really want to be there that much anymore. And Rodman was so much fun.
Yeah.
And he's, he said to me on camera, "Hey, you want to go and get a drink?" And I saw the camera sort of as we were walking out in that last shot. And I knew, I'm editing it in my head.
You knew what was going on.
Oh, they're going to use that. Okay. Yeah, let's go get a drink. And I think I kept the show going after they stopped taping. We just went too far, but I got fired because of it. And I sort of woke up after that and said, there's an example of how I sort of, sometimes as a sort of sometimes I think I've failed at things on purpose. Like, I'm not saying that this is exactly a metaphor for my movie Freddy Got Fingered, but because people really love the movie now. But at the time, we were thinking, okay, we've got to make this more disgusting than anything we've ever seen. We've got to make it more outrageous. We've got to push it so far that we're going to get in trouble, that the studio's going to get mad, then we're going to go fight with the studio to convince them more blood, more jizz, more, and we want to piss off everybody who's watching the movie. We don't want to make everybody laugh. We want to make at least half the people hate the movie.
Right.
And that was funny to us.
Right.
And I think also like on the Byron Allen show, when I go on and I was going ape shit. At the time, I think what it was is, okay, I think a lot of young people do that, actually. Young people listening out there. If you're listening to me, when you're young, I think sometimes there's this sort of insecurity of, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm going to just do it wrong, but I'm going to do it so wrong that it becomes right, because I don't know how to actually just go do it right.
But you're also defying people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's that idea where, if you can cause as much shit, then you've accomplished something.
Yeah. I didn't want to go make...
There's a guy crying and someone's yelling at me. I did something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that was what you tried to do. And I think doing stand-up is... and focusing on that has really and being older and having thought about this stuff for a few years has really made me realize, you don't want to get up on stage in a comedy club and have half the people laughing really hard and the other half of the people walking out in disgust. I mean, I like to have everybody, or at least, 99% of the people really enjoying themselves. So much more of a fulfilling thing. So, I haven't done as much of that polarizing stuff. I'm more trying to talk about, I still talk about controversial things. But I'm trying to do it in a way where people, understand and get what you're trying to say.
So this is the maturity. This is your version of maturity. It's like I'm not going to see how much I can gross out or upset or aggravate people.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the other thing is once you've done that a few times, it becomes like I always like to try something new too. It's sort of like when I started the show on public access 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
The first bit I did was going around in the street. I like doing man-on-the-street bits with a handheld mic. I'd tape meat to my head, and I'd go interview people deadpan as if there was nothing wrong.
Right.
And that was outrageous.
Yeah.
We did a lot of stuff like that. Then we went through a phase where we would do stuff with roadkill, and that was crazy. Yeah. Then we did some pranks. We went through a pranking phase where it was more of, and each phase would get sort of boring after you'd done the bit 10 times. I don't really want to make another gross out movie.
Yeah.
People have asked, I thought about making a Freddy Got Fisted, though. It's been requested by people. Make a sequel. Freddy Got Fisted.
Now, are these people that have been fans since they were 14 are now in their late 20s, still coming up to you?
A lot of that, yeah.
Do you find that they're evolving at all? Do you find that is there something about your audience when you see somebody who got on board in their teen years because of how over the top you were? Do you find they come up to you as grown-ups and they're still that guy, or is there people that you have matured along with you? I mean,
it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I have people come into my show who, sometimes people get dragged to the show by somebody that is a big fan, and then they come up to me after and they say, "Oh, I wasn't expecting to really like it so much." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you people have low expectations, Thank you for that." And then, but then the people that were expecting it to be sort of some gross out thing I'm still being loud and high energy.
But some people do come up and say, like, we thought you were gonna,
I haven't had that so much, no, because I think that I'm still sort of trying to maintain some element of outrageousness to my stand-up.
But you want to be liked.
Yeah.
This is a new thing for you.
I think so.
Do you think you always wanted to be liked?
I think so.
You were just
sure.
defying people to like you?
I think so.
Do you like me now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's always been something that you sort of grapple with when you do comedy, because you have from the very first day of doing the show, there was a thing called a viewer. It was pre-internet, right, when we started the show, pretty much 1994, right? It wasn't really internet as we know now, and there was a viewer response line at the station, answering machine, and the station people would call and they would leave comments,
right.
And then the station would print out the comments and leave them at the front desk for all the people working at the station to read.
Yeah.
And our show, from the very beginning, was 50% of people loved it and 50% of the people hated it. So from 1994, I've gotten used to reading these sort of criticisms of myself.
Yeah.
And you sort of start to go, okay, people like this, people hate this. Oh, but I like that they hate this. They were supposed to hate this.
Right.
And now it's sort of, now the internet, it's just so much worse. And that you're on Twitter and you inevitably have somebody calling you, tweeting you every day, going, oh, I thought you were dead. Why don't you just kill yourself?
Right.
Oh, great, thanks a lot. And then you have also people calling you a legend. Oh, well, geez, I'll kill myself. And they love the show.
And do you engage with it?
I block every negative comment on Twitter instantly.
You block anybody who does a negative comment.
Pretty much, yeah. That's my new non-engagement.
Does it hurt your feelings?
Not anymore, no, because it's become so normal to understand that, sometimes when I sort of start to feel a little bad about it, I'll go on YouTube and I'll look up some Tom Hanks videos and I'll read the comments and somebody will be, Tom Hanks is a goof loser, and I'm like, I feel so much better. Go read some you go read the biggest movie star in comedy history, and you go read the comments under their thing. Oh, they're dissing Sandler and Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis too. Right. So, whatever.
That's what those people do.
Yeah.
They don't care who. Yeah. That's what they do. They go onto a board and they shit.
Yeah. The trolls.
Yeah.
Are alive and well, and it was actually a fun thing on my web show because I purposely sort of gave them this forum to.
You baited them.
Yeah. I got a phone line and said call me, and essentially turned it into this place for trolls to call in and tell me to fuck off, basically, and tell my guests to fuck off, and you can swear on this, right?
Yeah.
I know.
But did you get a lot of calls?
Oh yeah. It was constant.
People loved it.
Yeah, it was a sort of a thing where we had this online group called 4chan, which is, essentially now gone on to become like an online terrorist organization who's called in, bomb threats on the San Diego football stadium. But back then they were just telling me to fuck off.
So you inspired something.
Yeah, it was cool. And to me, I'd always, when I was young, I'd like to call into phone-in radio shows and do characters and freak out the host. That was what we did back then.
Yeah.
So I sort of, I understand trolls, but I find on Twitter and on the internet, once you engage, it just becomes something every time. Like well you fuck off, and then all of a sudden it grows and grows and grows, and it just becomes this sort of negative thing. So I just block them.
And you can't win.
Yeah, you can't win because it's even when you do win, you sort of lose because
you're engaging.
You're engaging, and it grows.
Yeah. So now the stand-up, what do you got? You bring one person out with you? Are you doing a straight-up three-man show, or how's it work usually?
I've done it a few different ways. The last year, I've just been. Sometimes I'll just go with a buddy, but usually I just go often by myself and pick up a local comic to open the show for me.
Yeah,
which I like doing.
And what do you do? An hour and 15?
Yeah, about that. Just depending on.
And you got a regular show you do, or you try to kind of keep a lot of room to fucking dick off, or what?
Yeah, I'm writing new stuff. I definitely sort of go in and out of material, but I do like to do a lot of improv with the crowd. I shot a special this year that's running on Showtime now. It's the first stand-up special I did, and the first 2 years of touring, I was sort of trying to write that and put that together. And so I was thinking of it in a more structured way those first couple of years because I was sort of getting ready for the first special.
Right.
And I wanted it to.
How'd it come out?
I think it turned out great. I mean, I'm happy with it. I've had some good response to it. So it was it was fun. I've had a lot of great response to it. I enjoyed doing it. Shot it at the Wilbur Theater in Boston.
That's great.
Had a great time, and the crowd was great, and I was really happy with it. But it was also a relief to be done that special because now I'm sort of doing a lot more spontaneous stuff. I'm improvising more. I'm talking more just off the cuff about things that are kind of on my mind, and then I mean, I don't want to give away all the roadmap to what I'm doing to the listeners when they come, because I like you have bits that you just know are going to.
It's being a professional.
Yeah. And I go into those and go out of those, but I don't really like people to know exactly that.
Sure, the best thing they can know is not know which ones are which.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "You just made that all up."
Yeah,
like, yeah, I did.
And since the specials aired, I thought, okay, now they know all the bits, so I'm really kind of trying to think of new ideas and talk about things that I think are.
What drove
relevant.
you? I mean, what do you, because your career has certainly had these really different phases, and you sort of got close to the Grail, and you were living in it for a while, and then you were in Siberia for a while, and you kind of made your own way. So what's the hope? You just loving the stand up, or do you feel like you're driven by desperation or pleasure, or
No, I love the stand up. It's my favorite thing that I've ever really done. A big thing with me and the show was always about trying to do something that I'd never seen on TV before, really.
Right.
And the process was always complicated because you have a television network that wants it to look like television.
Right.
And I wanted it to look like something that shouldn't be on television. So there's a automatic conflict there. And you're being creative and you're trying to be artistic about it, and then you're still having to deal with and like again, at that time I was in that phase where I really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So
provoke people.
Yeah. And now with stand up, I still want to provoke people, but you don't have to run it past anybody. You don't have to write it and send it to some executive to change.
And
it.
also, when you do it, if it's for one bit, if you do something that's like this is going to fucking provoke something, then you're still standing there, and then you got to see how well you can dig out of it or move through it.
Yeah.
Or
which is
take
exciting.
Hit. Oh, it's very exciting.
And an adrenaline rush and addictive, and I love it. And I also really have loved the feedback I'm getting from people because, the fact of the matter is I have people out there love the show and they're still out there, and it's not like things really went to shit for me.
Right.
I'm actually. I have this audience of people that loves the show and loves Freddie Got Fingered and loves Road Trip, loves the movies, and they come out and they're really excited, and it's a real positive thing. It's a lot nicer than sort of being in a vacuum where you're not sure if anybody is really paying attention to my web show and stuff.
It wasn't limited to MTV. It wasn't, limited to age necessarily. You weren't some flash in the pan, that people like your sensibility and they've grown up with you.
Yeah.
You're a guy that's continually sort of creating and growing your thing. I don't think anybody ever got the sense that they know you.
Yeah.
They're just like, he's that fucking guy that's going to do that crazy shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess as long as you provide some of that, they're not going to leave you.
Yeah. No, it's been real good. It's been real good. I love doing stand up, and I'm starting to take a lot of my old material and put it up onto a YouTube channel on my website and things like that. So,
and you making money with that?
I just launched this new YouTube channel, really just a few weeks ago, actually. It's brand new.
With the Google money?
Yeah, it's just sort of a small following on there now that's starting to percolate. But the web show, when I was doing it, I had it was made a bit of money doing it, and it cost a lot of money to do it because of the technology involved and stuff. We sold the show to Canadian television and did some stuff like that made it really kind of a cool thing.
Right.
But I think it's definitely more about just kind of, I enjoy getting all that content that I've done for 15 years of videos. It's
and you
really
own it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Most of it I do.
What, from the public access stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, all the stuff that aired on MTV, I'd shot, 75% of the stuff that was on MTV we'd shot previously on.
Oh, so you showed up
Canada.
with it.
We showed up with it.
Oh, that's amazing.
And just repackaged it.
So you don't got any of that cease and desist shit where they're like
the Slutmobile when I painted my parents' car, that was from Canada.
Right.
Yeah. So
and you had an agreement with MTV that was yours.
Yeah, I just licensed it to them basically.
Oh, that's fucking genius.
Yeah. Yeah, it was sort of a different time, I guess.
But you knew enough to do that.
Yeah.
Because they usually just sort of like, no, it's ours now.
Yeah, it was like a different time because it was a very first time, I think, that people independently had video cameras and could go out and film a bunch of stuff on their own.
Right.
And so, I came to them. I sent them my 10 favorite videos. They said, do you have any more of this stuff? I said, oh, yeah, actually I have about 800 videos. And they said, send it all. We sent it all. And they literally flew me to New York a couple weeks later. We were in the studio in Times Square just throwing to all of my old videos. And that's sort of why the show kind of came out of nowhere when it on MTV, because I was taking my best stuff from 7 years and putting it down to 10 episodes.
Even if it had aired on the public access?
Yeah, it had all aired, yeah.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. So you were just curating your shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it sounds like ultimately the end game for you is to sort of build your own place on the internet that you have complete creative control over and ride it out.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I'm just sort of taking a little took a little beat on the web show. I'm starting it up again in the new year. I'm going to start the web show up again. I don't know. I really still kind of feel like I'm just focusing on stand up. I just shot a couple of. Doing some fun stuff. I was on that show Workaholics.
Oh, yeah,
I shot an episode of that yesterday.
Yeah.
I just shot some stuff. I was just in the new Trailer Park Boys movie that's coming out.
People love those guys.
Yeah,
they're Canadian guys.
Yeah. They have a new movie called Swearnet. So I was up in Canada doing that. So
you're working,
keeping it going. Keeping it going.
Man. Well, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man.